need more light. Let's just get some.
Tanya Di, very good evening. You are muted, Tanya Di. Good evening. Has it begun?
No, no, ma'am.
You have taken the pains to join in spite of having a busy schedule, Tanya Di.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, ma'am.
I just came home. Yes.
Yes, ma'am, and I just sent you the link also. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I thought, why not?
Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you, Dushari.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
So I think we can start now.
It's a long day for you, huh? It's a long day for you. I said, whole day you have worked and now.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. She's the ma'am.
Good evening, Vibhuti.
Hello.
So good to see you.
Yes, same here.
I have a feeling that we met in Calcutta at some point.
Yes, your face is very familiar and voice is very familiar.
Yes, exactly. Some American Center program, probably.
Acha, you had come to Bombay?
No.
Then it must be IAWS, no?
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah. IAWS.
Because the moment I saw the post, I thought I know this lady so well.
Yes.
I've seen you, I've met you, I've heard you.
Yeah. So which department you are in?
I don't belong to any department right now. I taught English for about 2 decades, and especially American literature and the gender paper.
Yeah.
But I have joined Diamond Harbour Women's University as Dean of Students. So right now I belong to each and every department that the university has.
Yeah, very big responsibility.
Yeah. Right.
Major responsibility.
And whenever we invite Tanya Di, she always joins.
Yeah, this is our commitment, no? Women's studies.
Yeah, because if you are, enthusiastic about gender issues, it's natural that I should join.
Right.
Because I taught the gender and literature paper at Calcutta University for 7 years.
Oh. In the Center for Women's Studies?
No. In the Department of English, but gender is my specialization.
Yeah, and there you have paper also, no?
But I've been a part of the WSRC for a while, because one of my refresher courses was in the department.
Yeah.
And I've been to umpteen programs of the WSRC. Yeah. So, okay. Wonderful meeting you.
Yeah, same here. I'm also quite excited about today's session. And even the topic you have chosen, that's also, no, it's not very just a routine thing, because we are trying about the health.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think, ma'am, we can start now.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so yes, so ma'am, thank you so much for agreeing to deliver today's lecture. I'm sure that ma'am does not need any introduction, but as per norm, I have this pleasure of introducing ma'am before our audience. Dr. Vibhuti Patel is currently the Vice President of Indian Association for Women Studies. She retired as Professor, Advanced Center for Women Studies, School of Development Studies, Tata Institute of Social Sciences, TIS Mumbai in 2020. Prior to that, she retired as professor and head of economics department of SNDT Women's University Mumbai in 2017. She was the director PG Studies and Research of SNDT Women's University Mumbai from 2006 to 2012. She did her doctorate in economics from University of Mumbai and was awarded a postdoctoral fellowship from Association of Commonwealth Universities in 1992 to conduct research at the London School of Economics and Political Science, UK. Her research interests have been gender economics, women's studies, human rights, social movements, as well as gender budgeting. She has authored Women's Challenges of the New Millennium in 2002, co-authored Reaching for Half the Sky in 1985, Indian Women Change and Challenge in 1985, and also prepared the status report for ICSSR Critical Evaluation of Women's Studies Research during 1947 to 1998. She is co-editor of a series of 15 volumes empowering women worldwide. She has edited two books, namely Discourse on Women and Empowerment in 2009 and Girls and Girlhoods at the Threshold of Youth and Gender in 2010. She has been a member of various expert committees for IGNOU, Ministry of Science and Technology, and NCERT Delhi during 2005 to 14. She prepared a base paper for gender or she prepared a base paper on gender for Mumbai Human Development Report 2009 and co-authored Socio-Economic Status of Muslims in Maharashtra for Maharashtra State Minority Commission, Government of Maharashtra in 2013. Currently, she is governing board member of Women Power Connect, Indian Council of Basic Education, Anushandhan Trust, Vacha, Women's Research and Action Group, Institute of Community Organization and Research in Mumbai. She is chairperson of Ethics Committee of International Institute of Population Studies, IIPS Mumbai. She is also chairperson of Board of Studies in Non-Formal Education of SNDT Women's University Mumbai and Research and Recognition Committee Economics for University of Mumbai. As a member of external expert of the Working Group on Discrimination Against Women and Girls of United Nations Human Rights Council, she contributed a report on women's human rights in the changing world of women in 2020. During the last 3.5 decades, Professor Vibhuti Patel has presented papers and has been a resource person in several national and international seminars, workshops, research projects, training programs, and conferences on economics and development studies with gender perspective in various parts of India and abroad, including Sri Lanka, Nepal, Bangladesh, Australia, Philippines, Thailand, Malaysia, Kenya, Senegal, France, UK, Netherlands, Germany, Sweden, Yugoslavia, USSR, USA, as well as China. Over the last 4 decades, Professor Vibhuti Patel's work has focused largely on the issues of intersectionality when gender, development, and social justice meet. With this concise introduction, now I invite Professor Vibhuti Patel to deliver today's lecture on women's and health rights. Thank you, madam. Over to you.
Okay. So, good evening, friends. First of all, I would like to express my heartfelt thanks to Honorable Vice Chancellor Professor Kajal Day of Diamond Harbour Women's University, Dr. Leroy, who has been in touch with me over last 1 month and who has made effort to organize today's function, and Professor Tanya Chakravarti, whom I'm seeing after a long time, and Dr. Navnita Sen Gupta, who is also here with us, and many and the esteemed participants. My today's presentation is on women's health rights are human rights, and I would like to share the screen. And is it visible? My slides, is it visible?
Yes, ma'am. It is visible. It is visible, ma'am.
Slide visible. Okay. Yeah. So I think we all are meeting in a post-COVID scenario, and also there are also guesstimates that pandemics are going to be endemics. No? So epidemics and pandemics are going, we have to live with them. So it is in this context, it's very important to understand women's health rights from the right-based perspective. And most of the time, the focus has been on women's reproductive rights, whether it's a pro-natalist society or anti-natalist society. Basically, the whole population policy plays a very important role. When we talk about the reproductive rights of women and health rights of women, it is right to life, freedom, integrity, and security, right not to be assaulted or exploited sexually, right to privacy and intimacy, right to informed decision making free from fear of discrimination, and right to regular, accessible, affordable, quality, and reliable health care. Now, right to medical assistance and counseling for choice of birth control methods appropriate for it individual. And currently in our country, there is also a debate of age of consent. And they have made it 21 for men and women. About that also, lot of debates are going on. Now, we need to contextualize the health rights of women in the intersectional perspective, because the various forms of vulnerabilities, exclusion, or marginalization, they have interconnection. The whole political economy that determines in which what are the patriarchal values, what is the power relations existing in the community, how the caste or your ethnicity or ability or disability, your life situation, your location, whether you are in rural or urban area, what is your educational background, what kind of socio-cultural setting from which you are coming, all these play a very important role in your access to health, what kind of health rights you will enjoy, and what kind of limitations and challenges that you will find. Now, over last 50 years, women's rights movement, I was around 15, that now I am 68, and we have seen right at the very beginning, health movement, women's health movement in our country has a very, very important role. It all started with the equality was
একটা দুটো একটু ওই ইয়ারটা ভুল করেছিলাম, আবার স্টপ করলাম ওই জন্য।
startling revelation of this report was that there was a continuous declining sex ratio in our country throughout the history of census, right from 1891 to 1971, because the report depended on the 71 census. There was an extremely high maternal mortality and child mortality rate. So maternal, which could not be explained only by poverty, because there are countries poorer than India which had a better maternal health, like some of the African, sub-Saharan African countries. So there is something, there was so much of like gender norms, Indian women eating last list and leftover, that also played an important role in the nutritional standard of women. Menstruation, the taboos about menstruation, that has been a very important concern right from the very beginning of of the women's movement. Chandita Mukherjee, who recently passed away, she's the one who made slideshow on menstruation, giving scientific understanding to the community. So it was a demystification of science, and taking the scientific knowledge to the community so that women don't have to suffer, or the girls don't have to suffer due to menstrual taboos. The question of child marriage, like currently also, nearly one fourth of Indian girls are married below the age of 18. In fact, COVID has increased the vulnerability of girls manifold. There are anecdotal and area studies are there. We don't have a metadata because we don't have 2021 census, but there are all reports from the community-based organizations, NGOs, rapid assessment studies. They are showing that there has been increased child marriages. In fact, in one district of Maharashtra, within 1 year, we had 6,500 child marriages only in one district. So you can imagine the enormity of problems. Problems of contraception, how safe are the contraception, or what kind of whether they are hormone based or whether injectables. There is a big controversy about the harmful side effects of contraception. Recently, assisted reproduction has become a very important, right from Bollywood stars to professional women. The question of assisted reproduction, freezing your eggs, using surrogates has become very, very rampant. It has become a very big billion-dollar industry globally. India is one of the major destinations of assisted reproduction, though there are restrictions for the now because of the new law that foreigners cannot use the facility. But then the black market is also there. Lot of undercurrent, lot of underhandling, and underground activities are happening in this area of assisted reproduction. The question of virginity tests, we are time and again we see that how virginity tests are being, like when the women's movement started, it was in Madhya Pradesh that nurses, the newly recruited nurses had to undergo virginity tests. We also know that when women migrated to UK, at the Heathrow airport, they used to conduct virginity tests, and there have been lot of oppositions and demonstrations against this kind of double standards of sexual morality, this whole obsession about virginity of a woman. Female genital mutilation, now we see that so young women have taken up this issue. It was earlier like considered to be the problem of African countries, 56 African countries, but we know that in our country also there are communities who are doing female genital mutilation. Question of awareness of bodies, that why women feel so ashamed of their body. Why adolescence for boy is very different from that of adolescence for a girl, and why so the awareness about the anatomical changes that are happening, bodily changes that are happening there, about that scientific understanding and awareness, and getting self-esteem and dignity about your bodily integrity is very important. Early discrimination which results in malnutrition, that is also been taken up, that it is very important. Healthy body and the nutritious diet are equally very important for a woman, because if you are healthy, your future generation will be healthier. Your body mass index plays very important role. Recently, during the pandemic, now for the first time, Government of India has allocated more than 700 crore for mental health issues. So mental health, we know that mental health is the most neglected and the invisibilized area. In this thing, it is also related to the power relations in the family. When women, anytime, like when you are suppressed, oppressed, not given voice, not allowed to do the things that you want, with the question of consent is very important. It is also linked to mental health. And the way WHO has defined, it is not only a question of bodily health, physical health, but also the well-being, overall feeling uh, of being in a good space, being in a healthy space is very important. Recently, we have also seen that over the last 20 years, the lifestyle diseases have also increased among not only elite women. Earlier, we used to think that there were certain diseases which are only for the rich. It is not true. Like in the community, every day you are hearing, even in the community, people, someone's leg is amputated because of diabetes, someone has got heart attack due to diabetes, COVID gets more complex, implication of COVID becomes more complex when in case of diabetes, and it is not only among the affluent class, it is among the and it is for that so many scientists are now saying that because the policy of green revolution, which only focused on rice and wheat, which only gives you carbohydrate, you never focused on micronutrients and proteins. That is also responsible in eating of junk food, which you can see more of recently. There were organization working among children, street children, and the child labor in Ahmedabad. And when they asked the children what is their favorite food, what would they like to eat, all children unanimously screamed and said, "We want rice and dal." That means their parents are working; they are just given only the packets, which is like whatever is available in the market. Because parents leave very early, they are in the informal sector, they are working for 12 hours a day. These children were yearning to have a simple rice and dal. Okay, so that was, so we can see that even among the young people, diabetes, blood pressure, because of the stress, the stressful life we all are leading, heart diseases, cancer. Among the young girls, we see the polycystic ovarian syndrome, PCOS, which has also become very common. Cultural and religious taboos about menstruation, pregnancy, childbirth, they were told to the winds, and issues were brought to the open by the women's movement. It is still a very long struggle. Currently, also, we see among so many ethnic communities and tribes, women are segregated. They have to stay outside the village in the hut designated area in which, and which is very scary. They get bitten up by they get bitten by snakes and scorpions. So now most of the state highways and public roads also cut through the forest, and people know that in this particular hut there would be a menstruating girl, and they also get sexually attacked. And young women have taken up this issue, and they are fighting against this kind of taboos. Over medicalization of pregnancy and childbirth for higher classes of women, because there have been very important studies done in Kerala. Dr. Mala Ramanathan has done. There have been the scams which we have heard about over medicalization of pregnancies. At least even when it is not required, they would do the cesarean section. Unnecessary cesarean sections have also increased. There are many studies and the statistics available that is 3 or 4 times more. It varies from state to state. Women's movement always gave a very importance to when personal is political. So all these health issues which were earlier considered to be the personal problem of an individual woman, now the new understanding that there are social determinants of women health. What kind of social setup? What is the material reality in which women are there? They decide. They determine the health status of women, and that's why we have to take them up as a very important epidemiological concerns. The question of healthcare services, person like Dr. Jasundra Das Gupta have also organized Anganwadi workers and healthcare workers. So the question of ASHA workers, Anganwadi workers, auxiliary nurses, midwives, temporary nurses, temporary doctors, of them, they need to be treated as a workers. And ASHA, Anganwadi workers, they are government employed, but still they are given honorarium, though they work for 10, 12 hours during the pandemic. The World Health Organization also gave them award for the best health services provided by the frontline worker. But still, the state doesn't recognize them as a worker. They don't even get minimum stipulated wages decided by the state governments. Healthcare services, in terms of like the implementation of and the guideline is 46% of the workforce, which is part of the organized sector, dedicated all the private force in like insurance companies, the digitalization goes against women because there is a massive digital divide, and most of the insurance services and the health services have also been digitalized. So women are left out, and that was one reason we saw that massive gap in vaccination because initially India was digitalized and women did not have smartphones, did not have digitally connected access. And finally, after the massive lobbying and advocacy by organizations like People's Health Assembly, Medical Friends Circle, Jana Swasthya Abhiyan, and health action, then we saw that state decided to have a decentralized vaccination camps in the housing societies and communities. Sexual harassment at workplace is a very important concern. Recently, we have seen that so many ASHA workers, Anganwadi workers, women doctors, in fact, the study done of JJ Hospital and AC Care, KEL Hospital, KEM Hospital in Mumbai also showed that women employees, women health workers, whether they are doctors or nurses or health administrators or ayabais or midwives, all of them face rampant sexual harassment, not only from their colleagues, but also from the patients and their relatives. We have also seen that caste-based discrimination is rampant in healthcare sector. And Payal Tadvi, who was an MD student of Nair Hospital, she had to commit suicide because of the harassment. She was from the ethnic community. She was a Muslim, and also from the scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, and she was harassed by her three colleagues who constantly insulted her in front of all, and she was constantly told that she did not understand, did not know enough about surgery and all. And finally, she committed suicide. She also wrote her suicide note is also extremely heartbreaking. Then there was a investigation committee was instituted by women's organizations. Now, coming to the health needs of girls and women of all age groups, there are organizations which have done pioneering work. One is the Voluntary Health Association of India, Dr. Mita Shiva's work, Saheli in Delhi, Sama in Delhi currently also is playing a very pivotal role in articulating health needs by grounded research, also doing the advocacy, filing public interest litigation in the court, working with the National Human Rights Commission to change the state policies. Jagori in Delhi, Jagori rural in Himachal Pradesh, Pune, Tathapi in Pune, Forum for Women in Health in Mumbai, Medicopa in Circle, Chetana in Ahmedabad, Sakhi in Thiruvananthapuram. These are some of the organizations who have articulated needs and demands and the agenda for women's health, women and health of women and girls from the right-based perspective. Now, coming to the reproductive health issues, first of all, the overall understanding of reproductive health is that it is a state in which people have the ability to reproduce and regulate their fertility. Number one, how many children do you want? Whether you want children or not, at what interval do you want children? How many children you want? State should not decide. It is not the population. It should be the decision of a woman, decision of a couple. That is the one. So we need to differentiate between birth control and family planning. When we talk about birth control, it is the couple which decides whether to have children or not, where how many children to have, at what interval to have, what kind of contraceptive to use, whether to use or not use. But when the moment you talk about family planning, then the social engineering by the state comes. Whether you are a pro-natalist state like some of these European countries which have withdrawn abortion services, or you are an anti-natalist states like South, like most of the like India, China, and all, where you want to control the population, both of them treat women as a as an object. They are not treated as human beings. They are just treated as vessels that produces babies. They are baby machines, and you have to control them. So whether you are a pro-natalist or anti-natalist, both of them policies have used women and not as a citizen, not as a human being with their own agency and voice, but they are just become the instruments in the hands of the state, which is now uh, challenge. That means reproductive control. There is a shift in the paradigm in terms from reproductive control to reproductive rights. There was a convention in 2010 in Cairo, and that is the time women from all countries they demanded we don't want the control by the state. What we need, women would decide. It is their choice when they consent. That is very important in deciding reproductive matters. Women are able to go through pregnancy and childbirth safely. That is very important concern in reproductive health. Outcome of pregnancy is successful in terms of maternal and infant survival and well-being. So you have to provide the healthcare services which are of a very good quality, and so that it doesn't harm women and baby. The couples are able to have sexual relations free of fear of pregnancy or contracting disease. So that means you need to safe contraceptives also become very important. Reproductive rights of women, when we talk about, is the ability to reproduce seems to what sets women apart from men. Do women have control over their own reproduction? Do women have freedom to choose whether, when, and how many children to have? Do women have access to safe birth control methods? Do women have right to safe abortion? Can sexuality be separated from reproduction? A big no and oh is in answer to many such questions led to emergence of women's health movement in different parts of the world during early 70s, 1970s. It started as a small consciousness raising group. You know that in a consciousness raising means that you try to understand what are the factors which are determining your life. Okay? And you sit in a group in a non-threatening environment, you can freely talk, you can understand, and the collective wisdom that emerges from this group empowers you. So it began by spreading awareness among women about functioning of their bodies and gradually evolved into multifaceted campaigns that have significantly influenced health policies in many countries. But there are books such as Prajanan Jagruta or We and Our Fertility, In Search of Our Bodies, or Our Bodies Ourselves. All these books that it came out and also in regional languages, not only in English but also in Hindi and Marathi and Tamil and Telugu and Malayalam. They were very, very important in creating a new, mature understanding about women's health rights. When you talk about reproductive control, it's a control over women's bodies and sexuality. A husband forcing his wife to have sex, to a government forcing women to undergo sterilization. There are very good films made by Deepak and Raj. Massive research qualitative research done as a historical research done by the women's group collectively, as a result of which a three-part film, which is called something like War, made by the Badhan Raj and team in consultation with organization called Jagori that came into existence, which played a very important role in highlighting the negative and the harmful effect of reproductive control. It critiqued institutionalization of patriarchal control over women's sexuality in the form of monoandrous or one husband only heterosexual marriages. And it challenged predominant norm of matrilineage inheriting from father's side and that only offered the stamp of legitimacy to legitimate heir, severely punishes sexual expression or reproduction outside marriage. There were cases where an officer from LIC she applied for maternity leave and her boss gave her termination order because he said that you are not married. How can you go or have a maternity leave? It became a big issue. Women's movement took it up. They took it to the member of parliament who was HRD minister, Madam Harpreet Kaur, who raised this issue in the Parliament of India, and it was decided that no public sector enterprise, no employer has a right to ask a woman whether she is a married or not when she asks for maternity leave. If she is a pregnant, there is nothing called illegitimate child. Child is a child is a child is a child, and that's why. And every mother, every pregnant woman has got the same type of leave. Okay, and she deserves maternity leave. That's
মানে
what
100 টাকা করে আর
judgment that
30
she
টাকা
got
করে
in the
চারটা
Parliament
আইসক্রিম
of both the Indian
তাহলে
Parliament
টোটাল কত হলো
during the 80s.
220
Now, this whole discourse on
আর
reproductive
টাকা দিচ্ছি
freedom
কত
became
তো টাকা
very,
দিচ্ছে
very important
500
by
হ্যাঁ
1990, and
এর
what
থেকে
we saw
220
that
মাইনাস
within
করবো
the
কত হয়
framework of WHO's
500
definition of
minus
health as a
200
state of
300
complete
কি
physical, mental, and social
হ্যাঁ
well-being,
that way
not merely
আমি তো আবার দেখবো
absence
আমার
of
নিজের অঙ্কের
disease
উপর
or
বিশ্বাস নেই
infirmity, but reproductive health addresses reproductive
220
processes, functions,
280
and systems at all
দাঁড়া
stages
বললি
in
30
life
টাকা করে নিবি তা
that
বেশি নিবি না
হ্যাঁ শুধুমাত্র
well-being
30 টাকা করে
এটা ট্রেডার
স্ট্রিক
processes
যা হোক
and
তোর যেটা পছন্দ
life
তুই
that
নিবি
ঠিক
আর
আছে
30 টাকা
on
বেশি
your
নিবি না
life
চারটে নিবি
cycle.
আর
Uh,
হচ্ছে 200
so
আর
many
চারটে নিবি দুটো তুই
different
পরে খাবি আর দুটো আজকে এক এক
100
আমি
টাকা
খাবো
আমি বলি যে একবার 100 টাকার পরে না আর চারটে আইসক্রিম কিন্তু আইসক্রিম গুলো
when a
ইচ
woman does
30
not
রুপিস
have
করে কস্ট
bodily
করবে
হ্যাঁ
needs,
তাহলে টোটাল 220
when
টাকা
her
500
body
টাকা
is
দিচ্ছি 280
invaded
টাকা ফিরবে তো
against her
টাকা
will,
বলবি যে নোটগুলো
when
যেন
her
ছেঁড়া ফাটা না
choices
হয়
are
দেখে দিবি
determined by
আমাকে
social
চাটা দিক
norms
তারপর যাবি
rather than personal
টাকাটা ভালো করে হাত
preference,
টেনে হাতে
it is unlikely
আর
that
এটা
she
বন্ধ
will
করলে
gain
ওরা টানবে
access
প্যান্টের
to
এন্ড থেকে
decision making, be
বাকি
it at
যদি
a
কেউ
micro
দেখেছে
household level or a macro societal level. In an attempt to
দেখেছো দেখেছো
reclaim
ওখানে
full
এসো
control over
কি
their own fertility
ও
and
মানে
open
কিন্তু
avenues
বন্ধ
for
করতে পারবে
autonomy
একসাথে
and
দোকান থেকে
decision making
হ্যাঁ
in
ওই
other
নবজ আগরণী
aspects of
দোকানটা থেকে
life.
যেখান থেকে তোর
The
সাথে একদিন
women's
এত
health
করে টোটো করে
movement
নামলাম
ও
একদিন
called
ওখানে
for the
আছে
world
ওখানে
ও
সবই পাই
protecting women's right to voluntary maternity,
হ্যাঁ
access to safe contraception,
দা কি
and
করছে কি
abortion
চা করে তোমার
services.
বলে দার্জিলিং গেছে চা কলা পাতে
That so many regressive uh, measures have taken place even in the industrialized world. The women in USA who had a very, very important battle won
কি
in the
করছি
70s. Abortion services, there are so many states in USA have scrapped that. And there is a criminalization of abortion in those countries. In countries like India, abortion services came because of the initiative of the medical lobby way back in the 70s because of the backdoor abortions that were the major killers of women because we had a pregnant the maternal mortality was very high and the mortality during pregnancy was extremely high because there were no safe abortion services for being offered in the medical facilities. So it is in that context that we got the Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act. Now, this struggle for women's reproductive rights has resulted in right to contraception being conceded in many parts of the world, although women still lack easy access to affordable contraceptives, which are
280
free
মানে
from
280
side effects even during the pandemic. For contraception and reproductive health measures or services were not listed as a priority, essential service. So everything was focused on so what we saw even during the pandemic, when unwanted pregnancies, most families use all sorts of horrible things for abortion, right from toothbrush, knives, oily wards were converted into COVID wards. And so many women in Manila were babies on the road.
এই ব্যাগটা
So
করে
this
নিয়ে
is
যাই
how
টাকা
women's
পয়সাগুলো ফেরত আনবি
reproductive services, they get marginalized when
এটা করে ফেরত
kind
আনবি
of
যেন টাকা আটকে না
by
যায়
when
এসে
you
আমার
have a
ফেরত
man
দিবি
decision. Reproductive control over women in India that you see is basically child marriage. Because child is at a very young age, a woman has to become have to have a with that to intercourse, or she doesn't have any right to say no. She becomes a child mother. There are myths about menstruation. There are ritual pollution, which like the whole caste system gives you purity versus pollution. Girls have to suffer from that. They have to discontinue in so many areas. They have to discontinue their studies once they start menstruating. They are taken to native place and married off as children. Major reason for dropout of girls from school is also child marriage. Basically, the taboos regarding menstruation, ritual pollution, and child marriages. Religious and cultural taboos prevent women from using contraception. In cultures such as India, where motherhood is glorified and infertility is viewed as a curse, the use of contraception is frowned upon. Nevertheless, 30 years after it began, the struggle for women's control over their own fertility has led to a separation between sexuality and reproduction, where women are able to experience their sexuality without pregnancy being the inevitable result. There have been ethical concerns which women's movement has raised, even the health rights movement has raised. It's about the bodily integrity, very important, dignity of women, informed consent, and with state policies which are vertically imposed, bureaucratically mismanaged, which the whole camp approach, which doesn't even treats women only as a just vessels, as the attack is on the uterus, because they are the ones who reproduce. Most of the family planning measures, they also are extremely coercive when it comes to the poor and marginalized women. So many anti-poverty programs also are linked to whether you are using contraception or you have gone for sterilization. Now, political economy is very important to understand the larger institutional uh, factors which contribute to reproductive health. In a situation where women have no right to clean drinking water, basic facilities, healthcare, or education, where society decides where women will live before marriage, after marriage, how they will live, how they will die, who they will marry, whether they will study, where the state or an international development agency believe that they have a right to determine how many children women will bear, whether you have a two-child norm or a one-child norm like China, or whether you have a non-abuse policies where you just don't give any contraception or abortion because you want women to produce 5, 6, 7, 8 children, as you see currently in the East European countries, because you need more labor force. When they will get sterilized, what form of contraception women must opt for? These are the very challenging issues that we see, and they are also important pillars of reproductive health. One is the reproductive freedom, reproductive choice, pregnancy related care, and also the state policies which are there. Now, population control versus birth control, as I told earlier, the birth control is an individual woman's right to control her fertility. At most, couples attempt to determine family size, while family planning and population control is a government or state's attempt to limit the number of citizens. This fundamental difference manifests itself as difference between women's overall health and their reproductive role, individual life choices, and the national goals, personal empowerment versus coercive government sterilization program and policies that trample upon individuals' right to birth control in the pursuit of limiting population. There has been a long battle by the women's organizations like IDWA in All India Democratic Women's Association, or the Sahili in Delhi, Jaguri, Forum for Women and Health. We have a True Trust for Reaching the Unreached in Baroda, Sakhi in Trivandrum, Vimochna in Bangalore. They fight so many public interest litigation litigations in the Supreme Court against hormonal contraceptives like injectables such as estrogen progesterone drugs, uh, net and depo-provera, implants such as norplant, nasal spray, abortion pill, RU486, all of them are hormone based. So whenever women complain about the side effects, whether it is a giddiness or loss of hearing or hearing loss or weakening of eyesight or complete disproportionate expansion of certain body parts or growing of beard or carcinoma, they are the medical lobby just calls it a psychosomatic problem of women. Against this, not only in India but world over, there was a massive uh, campaign, Feminist International Network on reproductive rights against genetic engineering came into existence because of such bitter experiences of women. There was a contraception called Dalton Shield that prepared. That was a spiral. It was introduced in the uterus, which resulted in a septicemia and uterine perforation. This Dalconchil was also used during emergency rule of 18 months in India. We don't even have any record. All the records were destroyed, but there were many countries in which the records were there. Women filed class suits, that means all women got together. They filed cases in the international court, and the pharmaceutical industry, German Remedy, had to give massive compensation in terms of millions of dollars to women. Women's movement also, the most popular song of women's movement of the 80s was IUD. You all talk about IUD, intrauterine device, and so many women had complained about the irregular menstruation, constant contraction in the uterus, massive discomfort, which so many women had complained about intrauterine device, but it was never whenever they went to the family center, somebody listened to that. So, and this was not only in our country, it was countries after countries in Asia, Africa, Latin America, where indiscriminately IUD were being inserted to a woman with one child. And there was a complaint, and the band, the feminist band, came up with very, very powerful song where they came up with a parody that you are using for this interact device to women. But if you have an interact device, what will that be? Why these scientists, medical bosses, and the whole technology, they don't realize because they are the ones who make the health policy, and they are the ones who impose all these devices on women. There was a strong sexist bias in all these devices, and they did it. I sing you all a song about the wondrous new device, the nation's latest contraceptive plan. Funny little object they call the IUD is guaranteed to fit an average man. It's the IPD, it's the IPD. It may not feel too good to you, but it's not hurting me. So every time the pain begins to fill your eyes with tears, remember, I put up with this for years. They tested it on wells and they tracked it out through mice. They tested it on poorer parts of town. Its cleverest inventions is the automatic lift, guaranteed to never let you down. It's the IPD, it's the IPD. It may not be so good to you, but it's not hurting you. So every time the pain begins to fill your eyes with tears, remember, I put up with you for years. Now, some women are never satisfied. So scientists are working once again. They have come with something better than the good called IPD. It's warning after pill for men. It's the pill which is better than the IPD. It may not be too safe, but you'll have to wait and see. So set aside your fears and put away your fears. Remember, I put up with it for years. This song was extremely popular throughout the campaign, throughout the 80s and 90s, where women were fighting against harmful effects of family planning measures, which were totally insensitive to women's pain and the side effects it created. It was touted as a liberation, that women are now liberated from the unwanted pregnancy, but what were the side effects and why there was talk about male responsibility on contraception. Do women have a right to the right in their personal intimate relationship? Do they have a right? You know, with so many cases of domestic violence, even if you read NFH's report, where all 5 rounds of the National Family Health Survey, where one of the reasons of domestic violence is that women trying to say no in mental rape. We don't even have criminalization of mental rape. So women's movement has used the tools of public interest litigation, as a result of which public hearings were organized by Drug Controller of India on the side effects of all these hormone-based contraceptives, which have been banned in most of the industrialized world, and the multinational pharma industries are dumping them into poor countries. World Bank and IMF also as a conditionality. WHO came up with the Carpetania approach. They came up with a poster that which kind of contraception your country will use. And conditionality is there that unless you attain population stabilization, you will not be eligible for any kind of international aid. So that has also been heavily criticized. Research and documentation on this subject, in collaboration with the doctors, sensitive doctors, gender responsive scientists, has also happened in a big way. Community-based work and legitimization of women's experiences. That's one thing which the medical lobby doesn't do, is accepting women's experiences, which in women's studies and gender, it is very important. Your experience is extremely important. So the Global Network for Kindred played a very important role in uh, bringing these issues center stage. Women's movements campaigns towards increasing male responsibility for contraception. The condom is cheap, reliable, easy to use barrier method with practically no side effects. It is also provides necessary protection against sexually transmitted diseases and HIV/AIDS. And I think after that you saw that there was some focus uh, on condom. Vasectomy, male sterilization is much simpler with fewer complications than female sterilization, but men's reluctance to undergo vasectomy leads to women having to take major responsibility for sterilization. And also, women also say that if after vasectomy, if my husband, if I become pregnant, I'll be thrown out because they will say that I am characterless and I have identity. Because immediately after vasectomy, men don't become sterilized. It takes time. So if they have sexual relation in between period, there are chances that become for women to become pregnant. So overall change in man-woman relationship is extremely essential, since it has been well established that women cannot gain control over their bodies in the context of unequal power relationship, whether it is in the legal relationship or whether it is in marriage or whether it is in any kind of out of marriage relations. When it comes to abortion, India adopted Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act in 1972. Now we have a revised MTP Act in 2017. Unsafe abortion is a major killer of death and health complications of women of childbearing age. Although it is difficult to get data on illegal abortion, it is estimated that worldwide 1/3 of all abortions are illegal. They are not done by the medically trained people in in aseptic environment. So the lot of nearly 2 crore women die due to unsafe abortion, and they also like 2 crore women have to undergo unsafe abortion, and out of which nearly 70,000 to 2 lakh of them they die due to unsafe abortion. So this is a very alarming scenario that we are facing. While fighting for women's rights to safe abortion, women's movement has also cautioned women about dangers of repeated abortion. It is an invasive technology. Making safe and reliable contraceptive available to all women, including adolescents, is very important, so that they to reduce the rates of abortion. There is also another very important concern we have in women's health rights. It's a struggle to reorient scientific research, ethical scientific research into public arena in terms of the human trials or informed consent. That we need to again bring these issues center stage. So many we have seen even during the pandemic. So many trials, human trials were conducted about vaccination. So many years there were reports of certain deaths also. They have not been uh, brought to the justice system. Fundamental question regarding direction of medical research and especially the contraceptive research, which is a very strong sex bias, pressing for pursuit for safer, non-invasive method of contraception for both men as well as women is very important and more women-oriented pro-people perspective marked by healthy balance of societal need as well as the individual right. Society, okay, we need what to like now at least 20 states have a below stabilization population. Total fertility rate has gone below 2. But still, there are 300 blocks in the country where women are producing more than 3 children. But this kind of, unless we make developmental investment to reduce child mortality, we will have more children. We have seen what happened after tsunami. In most of the southern states where tsunami had taken away all children, tsunami waves have killed all children because they could not swim. Uh, Government provided recanalization operation for the sterilized couple. And after that, they were reluctant to go for second sterilization because they say that again, if the disaster takes place and we lose our children, what do we do? So children are our investment for the future. In our old age, they are the ones who are going to look after. So I think we need to understand this important societal factor also in a society where you don't have old age insurance. For poor person, children are not a burden; they are the asset. Contribute to the family income and also who would provide for that in the old age. So we need to change the material reality to see to it that women voluntarily, like educating women, economically independent women, you don't have to even tell them they don't they have less number of children. Many of them don't even have children. We have families in India now in urban areas where you are doing family, double income, no children families. So we need to understand the individual situation and rights. Community-based initiatives which have taken place when it comes to women's health, these are self-help groups, fertility awareness in order to regain control over the body, multifaceted attempts to evolve new and more sensitive approach to women's health and healthcare have also been experimented. Rediscovering traditional and indigenous treatment and cures and redefining women's relationship with their body is a very important exercise the health movement has done and the process in this process like taking significant steps to crucially impact control that patriarchy in society and the state has over their lives. So becoming aware about that, asserting one's rights is very important. Now coming to the latest challenge which our country and like most of the countries in the world are facing, they are new reproductive technology. There are four types of functions it performs. One is the in vitro fertilization, subsequent embryo transfer, gift, SIFT, cloning, assisted reproduction, surrogacy. They are one aspect which are called as fertility assisted reproduction. Second one is a contraceptive technology that prevent conception and birth. Third one is amniocentesis, chorion villi biopsy, needling, ultrasound, imaging technique which are used for prenatal diagnosis of fetus. And in our country, or even in China, we see the sex selective abortions are rampant throughout the world. 80 countries have an adverse sex ratio. There are less number of women and girls as compared to men. Recently, I was told by an activist, a woman activist in Gujarat, Surat, they said that the sex ratio currently in the city has become 800 boys for 800 girls for 1,000 boys. So during the pandemic, PCPNDT Act was released that people had just misused this new technology to abort female fetuses after sex determination using a sonography technique. Gen technology play crucial role to genetic manipulation of animal and plant kingdom. All these technologies are based on principle of selection and rejection. The philosophical challenge, the philosophical issues raised by women's movement and the women's studies is that who decides who has a right to live on this earth? Only the white, blonde, rich, fair skinned people. They have to. They have to. They have to be there. So that's the way Hitler says that Aryans are the superior most right. So they have a right to live on this earth, and the rest should be eliminated. So this kind of a fascist ideology, the fascist, sexist, racist, colorist implication of this new reproductive technology, they have been challenged. The disability movement is also challenged. That okay, when you see that if there is a quote unquote deformed fetus or the fetus which would produce a child with disability, they should be aborted. So who are you to decide who has the right to live? There has to be have to support the diversity of people if people have a different ability and that has to be accepted instead of eliminating those who you consider as disabled according to your standards. So that is also been a very important question which has been raised with regards to technology of prenatal diagnostic that unborn child was in India, they face overt violence in terms of sex selection, overt violence in terms of suicide after the use of amniocentesis, coronary biopsy, sonography, ultrasound, imaging technique. Even in vitro fertilization clinics for assisted reproduction are approached by infertile couples. Doctors are advertising on an altruistic ground nurtures the fertile egg of assigning parents or assigning couple. I think we need to understand what kind of violation of rights of a surrogate woman happens. Is there informed consent? Is there any concern about her health if something goes wrong during the pregnancy or after the childbirth? Who will take care of her? That is very important, and the long-term follow is very important. Now, most important challenge which we have faced in the post-COVID area, post-COVID period, has been a mental health challenge. And about mental health issues, women's movement had always used, even in the earlier times, like any survivor of violence, whether it's a domestic violence or sexual violence or discrimination or sexual harassment at workplace, women are undergo tremendous stress. They are, in fact, I know if even the university, when women report about sexual harassment at workplace, they are sent to the mental hospital by the health department. So consciousness raising, experience sharing, caring that you are not alone. We are with you. It happens with everyone. Main thing is to fight against this. So women with mental disorders need support from medical practitioners, community, family, institutions. Providing support to women in distress is very important. A medical lobby, medical services, they have to ensure early recognition, information about illness and treatment, medical care, support, hospitalization. Community should not resort to any stigma. There should not be any discrimination with persons facing mental challenge. Social participation, don't isolate that person. Involve that person in activities and respect the human rights of the person facing mental challenges. A family has to be skilled for care. Family cohesion is very important. Networking is very important. Networking with hospital, counseling facility, halfway home are very important. Crisis support, financial support, respite care are very important. And then it comes to rehabilitation of a person with mental challenge, social support, education, vocational support, daycare, long-term care are very important. Currently in the mental hospital, so many women have now they are medically fit to be integrated into the society. But because of the social stigma, families are not ready to accept that fact. So more work needs to be done in the area of mental health and women. When a man has a mental health problem, he doesn't face so much of stigma as a woman with mental health problem faces. When it comes to mental health issues, there are two approaches we have seen which the medical fraternity or the healthcare system responds to. One is a universalist ethic approach, which
ফোনেটা
anthropologists
ওখানে
say
রেখে আমি যাচ্ছি হয়ে গেলে তুই
uses the
গা হাত পা মুছে
diagnostic
যা জামা
categories
ছেড়ে
of
আইসক্রিম
mental
খা
illnesses such as neurosis, schizophrenia, psychosis, mania, phobia, paranoia. This psychiatric labeling takes into consideration women's material reality. Under what circumstances? I remember
প্লিজ আমি
having
এটা
a
পড়ে নি
full-timer
তুই
of
তো
a
ওটা খাবি না ম্যাঙ্গোটা
which provided institutional support to survivors
জামাটা
of
ছেড়ে
domestic
বেটা
violence.
গা হাত পাটা
Most
মোচ
of the in-laws brought newly married daughter-in-law or the husband who treated his wife as a mentally ill. Actually, there was no mental illness. It was a problem of adjustment from a little family where she had a more freedom, more less surveillance, and after marriage, the new family where she is just treated only as a domestic drudge, no respect for her, no respect for her education, not being allowed to converse with everyone, constantly being taunted about her friends, her family. All this results in her going into depression. So it was basically the condition that is more responsible than so if you just suddenly just start giving chemical
কথা বলিস
therapy
না
and only medicalization of mental health, which I think 2001 approach of the policy was severely criticized by the uh, uh, counselors as well as mental health activists who believe in community-oriented approach. The second approach in mental health challenge is the AMIC approach, which is understanding of mental illness, keeping into consideration multicultural aspects of women's existential reality, traditional treatment of meditation, yoga, group singing, listening to discourse, aromatherapy, color therapy, they all play a very important role. Culturally sensitive counseling based on custom, religion, code of conduct, ethos of the community, and the community-based approach of creation of a halfway home. That during the day you go out, you just be in the front, you talk to people, and there is community scope, the community center. If there are drop-in center, you go, you socialize with people. That also provides very important space for catharsis. We need to accept importance of catharsis. Okay? Self-help groups of survivors of violence, like survivors of cancer, survivors of post-traumatic stress disorder, are very important. We all know that during the pandemic, when we were continuously inundated by the critical illnesses and deaths all around us in our neighborhood, our family, and all, this catharsis also kept us because wherever we had a very, very supportive environment, we saw that we could recover from the trauma much easier. What we saw during the pandemic, the learnings of the pandemic, that we accepted that 70% of the frontline health workers and the last line care workers are women. 9 lakh public health workers in our country were women. 10.3 lakh accredited social health activists, that is NRH and ASHA workers. We have 27 lakhs Anganwadi workers under ICDS. Government school teachers were distributing PDS ration door to door during the pandemic. Women were healthcare providers. They played a very important role as doctors, nurses, ayabai, sanitary workers, Anganwadi workers, ASHA workers, in which exposed them to greater risk. So many of them were not even given the personal protection equipment. They were using their own homemade masks. And these are all the pictures during the pandemic. What we saw that gender gap in vaccination was extremely pronounced in the initial phase. State also, several state governments took measures about that. There were, domestic violence was declared as a shadow pandemic, but there were many other shadow pandemics. Women had to struggle to access maternity health services. They delivered babies on road, train, rickshaw, in front of hospital desks. ASHA workers, police women, people on the road, neighbors, they helped women in the neighborhood. 24 women died while delivering baby in Shramik Express when they were taken back at the time of reverse migration. There was a denial by hospital to admit women in labor because the maternity wards were converted into COVID wards, and they would also, gatekeepers would also ask for certificate.
She's an international expert, a professor of international repute of economics, specialization in gender
As a
studies.
result, what happened? Miscarriage,
Mumbai আছে না
unsafe
মহারাষ্ট্র,
deliveries,
she's from
stillborn
there.
babies, neonatal deaths, maternal mortality, maternal morbidity happened, then women, so many women also self-delivered babies. There are programs and videos we have seen during child mortality.
ঠিক আছে এটা খাও না এটা
What
এরকম
was,
এটা কি
what was
খারাপ
needed
30 টাকা করে
was
অনেকই
an
ভালো
urgent need
ফোন
for
দেখতে দেখতে খেলে
helpline
আইসক্রিম কিন্তু গলে যাবে
So now in future, anytime there is a crisis, I think this needs to be kept into consideration because those who don't understand, those who don't learn from the experiences of history, they repeat the mistakes of history, which should not happen again. Serious reproductive health concerns of women under lockdown. First of all, it was the menstrual hygiene and sanitary bags, how to ensure safe, timely, and quality maternal health care at community level. Discontinuation of antenatal care was disastrous. Vaccination, triple polio, and prenatal immunization schedules were very important. Barriers in accessing institutional facilities for delivery care and also among many more. They are very important. They were very important. Neonatal care are immediate issues and they are very important to be reported at community level. And pregnant women who are working for miles together and women delivered babies, I think this kind of tragedies should never happen. According to the data from the Ministry of Health, we have we have record of only 17.47% of children during the pandemic and only 25% of the men who were pregnant. What happened to the rest? Because without data, we are shooting in the dark. What we need is a gender disaggregated data. Accuracy of data is very important for the intervention strategy. What happened to the rest of the 76% of pregnant women in the country? Did they deliver in their homes? Did they get medical care? For time being, nobody knew. The case of infant was even scarier. It was not known that 83% of estimated childbirth, whether these children received vaccination, whether they got polio, pulse polio, whether they got emergency medical care, country did not know how many of them even survived, whatever the nature of child mortality during the pandemic and lockdown. So reproductive rights of women, the slogan that emerged in the Cairo conference, that reproductive rights of women are human rights, ensure delivery of reproductive health service, ensure availability of curfew classes during such disaster, balanced diet for pregnant and lactating mothers, very important. So ICDA was freezed nearly for 2 years. ICDA centers were closed, which has shown massive increase in malnutrition among children and pregnant women. Provision of 90 days of wages for all pregnant women in third trimester, and adequate stock for menstrual hygiene products and healthcare and community facilities. These are very important. Some of the references, I think, which are all of them are in public domain. Janaswasthya Abhiyan came out with a very important report for women's health towards a national health assembly. All these booklets, there are several booklets, they can be easily downloaded from their website. Masu has come up with a very important document based on a ground level, all the meetings, several national level meetings of health care personnel, experts, and activists. That was the Indian Women's Health Charter. That is a charter of demand for Indian women that can be downloaded. For partners in law and development and SAMA, they came up with a report for sexual and reproductive rights of women in India, a country assessment undertaken to National Human Rights Commission of India. That can be downloaded. Sanna Gopalan and Meera Shiva's work on National Profile of Women Health and Development, it situates the health question of women in the
এখান থেকে
context
যাও
of
এই বিস্কুটটা নিয়ে চলে যাও এখান থেকে চলে এখন এখানে বসে না
social determinants
আলু
of
আলু
health,
কাটো
education and health of girl
দুটো
child
আলু
development in India.
দুটো টমেটো
That
ঘষো
is
আদা ঘষো নিয়ে যাও
part of the volume
যাও,
called
বিস্কুট খেয়ে
Girls
নাও
and the Roots and the Threshold
দরজা
of
বন্ধ করে
and
যাও
Gender, prepared by Vacha. But these are some of the very interesting video clips. I strongly request all of you to use it in your classroom. In TISS, while teaching, I always use these films. Students could, whatever, like 10 lectures can't convey, these films convey. This very important film is on history of population program, right from 1935, where the during the colonial times till to the present. It's made by Deepa Tanraj and Navros Contractor, something like war. The film is in 3 parts. Part 1 is 27 minutes, Part 2 is 18 minutes, Part 3 is 15 minutes. You can also Part 1 takes care of the its initial period of India, because India was the first country to have adopted family planning policy, okay, as a state policy. Paramita Vora, sorry, thank you, Tata, bye bye. It also talks about the agency and voices of girls and women. This short film of 6 minutes got first prize in the Ladli Media Award for the current year. Sama has made a film, Can I See My Baby Bumps? Can I See the Baby Bumps, Please? It's a documentary by Surabhi Sharma, which also got many awards in the Asian Film Festival. It's a 49 minutes film. You can watch it. It is about the assisted reproduction and surrogacy. It also takes care of both the supply side and the demand side, how the assisted reproduction centers and the surrogacy centers are operating. What happens to a woman who rents a home, or how the doctors and the hospital commercialize the services healthcare industry treats this issue. What about the commissioning? Parents, to what extent are they sensitive to the right of surrogate? What is the power relation between the surrogate and the assignee couples? Last film is that it's also a very good film, 22 minutes, called Nakusha. It is made by MPhil. The film was made when this MPhil student went for his field work in the rural Marathwad, where he came across so many women and girls whose name were Nakusha. And the meaning of Nakusha is unwanted. Okay? And then he broke further and he said that it was a custom that if you name your daughter as unwanted, you would get son in the next pregnancy. He came and reported to his guide, and they also approved the government of Maharashtra. Government of Maharashtra sent a circular to all schools to identify women and girls whose names were Nakusha. And they also asked the Panchayati Raj institutions to send the names. Thousands of women whose names were Nakusha. Government gave an order that all these women and girls had the right to change their name. But it's a beautifully made film that what when you treat your daughter like this, but even at the time of birth only, if you say that you are unwanted, what it does to their self-esteem and self-perception. So I strongly recommend to all the teachers and the scholars here to use these 4 films for your training programs, workshops, and personal classroom teaching studies courses. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts with the students.
Thank you so much, madam, for this highly informative lecture. And this is also a part of our PG syllabus as well as PhD coursework syllabus. So I'm sure that our scholars and students will benefit a lot from this enlightening lecture. Just one or two things I want to mention before one of our PhD scholars start the Q&A session. That is this is the so important topic when we talk about women's health rights, women's reproductive rights. And also if we go by some of the international human rights instruments, for example CEDAW, we will find that there also it talks about prevention of unwanted pregnancy through family planning and also sex education. Coming to the Beijing Declaration and the Platform for Action, where human rights of women have been highlighted, there also it was said that women have every right to have control over their own sexuality, their own bodily integrity, autonomy, as well as to fight for their own sexual rights, reproductive rights, and to live a life free from coercion and any kind of discrimination and violence. So, just I wanted to ask, madam, since in your lecture you talked about the maternal mortality rate, I was going through some data because this is something, as I told you, we teach in class. A global data, I mean, from United Nations site has, I mean, I found it where it was said that maternal mortality rate has declined by 38% globally. So do you think this is an effect of that, this is a positive impact of gender mainstreaming as a policy? You're muted, ma'am. You're muted. Ma'am, you're muted.
Yeah. So in the industrialized world, it has declined drastically. Some of the South Asian countries also, especially Sri Lanka, and it has declined. African countries during the Millennium Development Goal from 2000 to 2015, where the birthing practice was changed because earlier African women would stand, the woman in labor would stand and deliver baby, which was damaging for both women because there would be uterine products and the child would fall on the ground and die. So when they came up with the new birthing practices and they created the ambulance where any woman in labor, if she has to just approach the helpline and she would lie down and deliver the baby. That resulted in a nearly half of the maternal deaths were eliminated. That means so several African countries. So that was an achievement during the Millennium Development Goal. And the sustainable development in India also, like we have been able to reduce maternal
Yes, it
mortality,
has also reduced in India.
especially after the Janani Sudaksha Yojana, where within 30 minutes of a woman in labor, the ambulance has to reach. But for that, most important thing is infrastructure. You need to have a Pakka road. So that is very important. So the states which have given a very great importance to this kind of infrastructure, we have seen that maternal mortality has gone down. Now we need to have a data of the pandemic because pandemic data during the pandemic we don't have. There was a complete what you call darkness so far as the full maternal health. As I told you, the ministry had only 25% of women's registration during the pandemic, and 17% children born were registered. So we don't know what happened. But yes, 2000 onwards, there have been reported, most of the countries have reported massive decline in maternal mortality and child mortality, mainly in the African countries. So that was a major 56 African countries. They had a highest maternal mortality and child mortality, which was reduced. Even after the consciousness about Ebola, because Ebola had also taken heavy toll of pregnant women. But after that, the measures which were taken during the Millennium Development Goal by African countries, nation states, was very important.
Thank you, ma'am.
Globally, chat box. The chat box, it is the item about the consciousness raising group. See, the consciousness raising group, that method is used by health movement now also. And now I think there is more of institutionalization because of the wherever there is a Panchayati training takes place, that not being judgmental, not to do victim blaming, allowing women to explain their condition and then coming up with the intervention strategy instead of a vertically imposed, bureaucratically managed family planning method. You have a women's, and that's why I strongly recommend that please see Deepa Chandran's film, something like war, where the whole how the consciousness raising method has been used by the health movement in India, especially where women from the Bastis, women from the rural areas, they come together and they come up with the policy which takes women's consent, women's reality into consideration, and then comes up with the solution to the problem, and also creates supportive environment rather than bureaucratically managed very cruel environment using anti-poverty programs and conditionality of sterilization and all. That is extremely
Debolina?
Yeah.
May I now request
Yes,
our
ma'am.
research scholar Debolina to conduct? Yes. Yes, Debolina, please conduct the session.
Yes. Thank you, ma'am, for interesting me with the question answer session, and thank you, Professor Patel, for delivering now, moving forward with the question, we do have some questions that we asked by further. What this question is, sports are good, personal is political. How can this be explained in a pedagogical setup? How can we explain this vacuum in society? The role of the women is also politically constructed.
ওই ব্যাগটা সেটা
How we take care?
তোমার সবসময় পিছনে পিছনে সুতো আছে একটা জামা যখন আনে তখন তো ঘুমিয়ে থাকো সন্ধ্যাবেলা জামা আনছে
There are associated with there are sufficient determinants of the health issues, and that's why when we say it's the political structure, okay, economic, social structure, institutional structures, which are very important. So acknowledging that, and unless you do that, you will not even accept it as a societal problem. You would just individually, and it also results in individual. Okay, nothing happened to me. Why did it happen? That is one thing. So when we say about personal is political, because every time, any time a woman's problems are put forward, they are always the system or the policymakers, they just watch it out as an individual women's problem. What we see is they are not individual women's problem, they are the problem of society, and that they are political problem. And they are socially determined, and they are determined by the political policies that we have taken, whether it's a legislative or judicial. State policies play a very important role. If you see, for example, budget. If you don't have a general responsive budget to reduce gender gap in education and work participation, reduce the reduction of violence, or ensuring decision making and voice and representation of women, obviously women will not have any say. They will have to accept what the system does on them. So it is very important to accept that these all are issues, problems created by the political economy. So it is very important. Within that, how women's agency or women's voice or representation can be enhanced, articulated, and that is the job of consciousness raising. That you try to understand what are the factors which are creating disabling environment, and how can you collectively solve the problem. Because individually, if you do, you face the challenge. So it is very important to amplify your voice through your research, through advocacy, through uh, creating association and the collective voice. They are very important. So that's why the along with personal is political, its corollary is that women united will never prevail. That is what the Latin American women say. That, once you have this consciousness raising, it just doesn't mean only a discussion club. You also come up with the strategy, agenda for action. That is very important. This is what makes women's studies different from the rest of the disciplines, because it is not only an academic exercise or a knowledge for knowledge sake, it is a knowledge for social transformation. And we all know that currently the power balance is not in favor of women, and we have to use this knowledge for creating enabling environment. Yes.
Hopefully, Swatha, your query has been satisfied. Now, moving onward to Namonita Shengupta's question. Her question is like, ma'am, in a patriarchal setup, how marriages are responsible for women's health? Particularly, we can see there's a general apathy regarding spending on women's health, particularly when she's a non-earning member. What actually happens, like, even prior to marriage, I think that, or most of us have the same question, that people have the kind of secrecy regarding her health issues, so that her marriage prospect does not get damaged. Right? So how do we bring such kind of problems in the forefront? It's how we need to address them.
First of all, I think the patriarchal, we have a patrilineage, a patrilocal marriage system. So you are uprooted from your natural family, and you are going to your this. So that itself, initial first 6 months to 1 year are quite difficult for women, because the feeling of being uprooted and unwanted is also there. That the moment you get married, you lose all your rights, even in your natural family. You are treated as a guest. You are treated as a stranger by your own family. So I think the questioning of this whole heterosexual monogamous family, that itself is now happening in a big way by the LGBTQIA movement and the queer movement, because this is what do we mean by matrimonial family, or any family. Family is there mainly to support and mutual. It should be on the foundation of respect, mutual respect, equality, concern for each other, okay, and the welfare of each other. If the foundation of marriage is based on a patriarchal control over sexuality, fertility, and labor of women, I think that is recent reports or the even data on divorces. No? Most of the divorces in the cities are initiated by educated, economically independent women because she is not ready to accept this kind of humiliating behavior from her in-laws and the spouse. They want respect, sharing of housework, sharing of responsibility, sharing of childcare, and the mutuality in the spousal relationship. That is at one level. We see that the new kind of equations that are coming up. Number two, so we did a study on perception of youth in India and Gothenburg. In both the countries, like in Bombay and Gothenburg, and men wanted to settle down, while the women said that no, we don't want. Even though the girls in SMBT University, postgraduate department girls, they say we want to be economically independent. We have seen the lives of our women and neighbors, so many relatives, what kind of humiliating treatment they had to face. So we don't know. I don't want that in my life. First, what first thing that I want is to be economically independent. Even a small little house, if I have, that is more important. So that nobody can say, throw me out. Why should I become? Why should anyone have a right to throw me out? I want my house. This kind of a new thing, even in Seva, like Seva Rural, earlier women from rural areas, when they joined Seva, they would buy any savings they made, whether through their dairy, you may have seen Manthan Well, no, by Shyam Benegal. So all those women who joined Amul Dairy Cooperative, they would just buy gold so that they could get a better uh, groom for their daughters. And what happened to these daughters? They were either thrown out or they were killed. Dowry murders took place. And these women, they realized. And Seva also changed this policy. They said nothing doing. If you have whatever savings you have, invest in a house. And they started a Seva housing scheme. They said, give that to your daughter and let her husband come and stay with her after marriage. Let the house be in her name. Gift of a house to your daughter. So property right, which is very important. So many other issues related to marriage, even the family laws, seven aspects of family laws. Marriage, divorce, custody of child, maintenance, right to stay in a matrimonial home, right to stay in a parental home, and property and inheritance rights. If all of them are unequal, if they are skewed against women. Against that also we have seen right from 1972, where the first case was filed public interest litigation by Mary Roy's, Arundhati Roy's mother, challenging Travancore Christian family laws. After that, we had a women challenging Sharia law. Hindu two sisters, Lata Mittal and her sister, they challenged Hindu Property Act, where the daughters did not have right in inheriting homes. They were the ones who had sacrificed after father died. They gave up their studies, took up jobs to look after to raise younger brothers. When brothers got married, and the sisters were aging, they were asked to leave the ancestral home, and they filed this public interest litigation in Supreme Court. So these challenges are happening even in the tribal area. You can see that so many public interest litigations have been filed for the land rights of tribal women or customary, like we have
এখন
13,000
সায়েন্স প্রজেক্টটা
customary
করবো,
laws
ঠিক আছে, হয়ে gele.
about the discriminatory aspects of customary law, whether compulsory virginity test on the first night of marriage among the Kanjarkar community. The young couple has protested against that. They are hounded, they are facing abortion, they are facing tremendous opposition. But now, in last 50 years, what we have seen is that increasing number of women and young couples, they are knocking at the doors of lower courts, high courts, Supreme Courts, and community caste-based organizations, asking for equality, respect, and equal rights for men and women in marriage. But it is a long way. It's a work in progress.
Thank you, ma'am. The next question is from Dr. Tanya Chakraborty. Anthropologists are reporting that the age of onset of menstruation has increased in Kenya. In a patriarchal country like India, will these ability to counter this social issue which may emerge in the future again?
What do you? It is about the age at menstruation. Hello.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So that is going
Yes,
down,
sir,
no?
please, sir.
Yeah, because now it has gone down mainly because of the overall health also has improved. No, women's the children are, and the lifestyle has also changed. The food habits have also changed. Girls are menstruating now. At times it was 14 and 15. At that age they were menstruating. Now they are menstruating at 10 and 11. And I think that is also the major challenge that we have been facing. I haven't understood the question.
Yeah, the question is, Dr. Patel, if they start menstruating early, some parents may begin to think that their girls have become women, and
Yeah.
they want to, and they might want to marry them off.
Yes.
So, are we ready? Is India ready to encounter?
It is already
Yeah.
happening, no? The age
Yeah,
of
exactly.
menstruation has
That's
gone
what I
down.
thought.
And now girls in at least in Mumbai, they are menstruating in fifth standard, no?
Yeah.
Because they are getting relatively better food security, high protein diet, midday meal scheme. We have in schools they are given good diet, and we have seen that healthy women they menstruate early. That is one this thing. But at the same time, we have campaign against child marriage also has to be very important. And now the girls are also not conscious about it. You saw during pandemic, 2 lakh 75,000 distress calls were made to just National Commission for Women. I'm not talking of State Commission. National Commission for Women did out of which 25,000 calls, 25% calls were by women who were girls who were facing either post marriage or trafficking. So that consciousness has also increased. So your age of menstruation has definitely gone down. I mean, NFHS reports are also showing the girls are now menstruating much earlier. There are environmental reasons, there are lifestyle reasons, there are reasons of diet also changing dietary practices, and overall body health has improved of Indian girls as compared to what it was 75 years back. So that is yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, ma'am. The next question is from Aparna Singh. She has asked that what role can sex education play in addressing all the concerns, particularly the health concerns regarding women?
Yeah. See, the sex education, most of the industrialized world have sex education. No? Europe, America, Australia, New Zealand, all of them have sex education as a part of syllabus. Women know how anatomy functions. The main thing is power relation. Do you have say? Do you have? Are you in a position to say no or decide what are your preferences, how you want to determine your life? That is very important. And your social, like if your parents are, and still teenage pregnancy is extremely high in developed world. Okay, after every war, teenage pregnancy increases because the, the country which gets defeated is raped by the army of winning country. Okay, that happens. So I think it's not sex education is important. Yes, you need to know how your anatomy functions, but where I would you have to be empowered so that you have a right to decide your have a say on your body. It is your body integrity is not violated by either because of economic distress or in a marital relationship or by your boyfriend. Because that most of the teenage pregnancies in the Western world or industrialized world happens among the boyfriend and girlfriend. Okay, because parents ask them to be independent after 15. After 15, they think they are major, and they're also. In fact, the whole exercise of gender responsive budgeting happened because the students' movement in Australia demanded way back in 1984 that what does state do for women? For a boy to be on his own at the age of 15 is a different ball game. For him, it's freedom.
ল্যাপটপে
For a girl, at the
ল্যাপটপে
age of 15,
বাঁদিকে
to be
সিগন্যাল
on
দিচ্ছে
her own
হিট ওয়েভ ইন
is a
এফেক্ট। ঠান্ডা হবে কি করে এত হিট ওয়েভ
because
চললে?
people pretend to
ওই ঝড়
and
হিট ওয়েভ
they also
চলছে,
take advantage.
অসহ্য গরম,
Teenage
লোক
pregnancy.
মরে
Major
যাচ্ছে,
reason for teenage
সানস্ট্রোক হচ্ছে,
pregnancy
বলছে যে বুধ
in
বৃহস্পতিবার
industrialized
ঝড় আসতে
world
পারে।
was that it is not that these girls will
একা একা আবার যাস না আম
think they are
পড়াতে
going to get, sex, you will become pregnant. Continue. But you are helpless when somebody you are in distress, when you don't have any say. And I think most of the Netflix and Amazon films that we are of the teenagers, what kind of our relations teenage boys will take. So I think we need to focus on this also. Sex education alone is not enough because most of the safer don't even allow. Even when we take up the sex education as a personal but at the same time, empowerment is a big economic empowerment, their agency, their voice, their collective strength, they are equal. Coupled with that, sex education can prevent unwanted when you are
The next question is from Akshay Mukherjee. Her question is, do you think increasing is going to solve the gender-related hierarchical problems?
Can you repeat it?
Yes, ma'am. Do you think AI increasing is going to solve the gender-related hierarchical problems?
What I thought? Hello?
Hello, ma'am.
Yes.
Ruksha Mukherjee, if you want, you can ask your question yourself also if you are present over here.
Yes. Ma'am, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for your enriching lecture, ma'am. My question is, do you think that double income notice, Dinkism, is going to solve the gender-related hierarchical problems?
No, not at all. I will never say that because it's a double income, no children, even in that, can have power relations, no? Whether it is about career or whether it is about owning the assets, or we have seen all such bitter battles in the family court, no? Where you have double income, no children families, when they're even in the uh, this relationship, no, live-in relationship, that they don't have children. The domestic violence is extremely high. When they part, they were bitter struggles. There are so many the losses that they have, fight over property, fight over asset, character assassination, trolling, cybercrime. Violence still is a very, very important patriarchal violence. Uh, very, what you call toxic masculinity is still a very important problem, even among the linked families. Linked couples have also.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah. And we are increasingly now seeing that the court cases also of such very bitter struggles in the family court. And Maharashtra is in our state, live-in relationship, domestic violence in live-in relationship is a crime. So many such cases.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. Ashi Baloti, you have raised your hand quite a few times during the session. If you have any question, you can come forward now and ask your question. And we are requesting to other attendees also right now. If you have any question, you may come forward and ask your question directly to Vibhuti ma'am.
I think the person who had raised her hand couple of times is no more in the meeting.
Okay,
So
ma'am.
I think yes, we can wrap up this session, Debolina.
Yes. Once again, thank you, Professor Patel, for taking your valuable time and giving us such an informative and intriguing session. Means we are really mesmerized with whatever we have heard and listened from you, and we really hope that we'll listen from you once again very, very soon. Thank you. Now we'll proceed further with a vote of thanks. Over to you, Tishari ma'am.
May I now request Swata to please give the vote of thanks?
Thank you, ma'am. I hope I am audible.
Yes, you are.
Thank you for giving this opportunity. First of all, first on behalf of the entire Department of Women's Studies, I would like to express my gratitude to our speaker, Dr. Vibhuti Patel, for sharing her valuable time with us and engaging with us on this very pertinent issue, especially now when in this century we are seeing an apparently developed nation adopting regressive abortion laws. Of course, I would like to thank the chief patron of today's event, Honorable Vice Chancellor of Women's University, Professor Kajol Dey, for providing us with this amiable but at the same point in time very potent platform to hold this lecture. I express my gratitude to the acting Registrar Dean of Arts, Dr. Aparajita Hajra, the Dean of Students Welfare, Dr. Tanya Chakraborty, and of course the audience along with all the participants for making this event a success. We hope to continue and have more of such academic initiatives in the future. Thank you very much for having us with you today.
Thank you for the opportunity. I really enjoyed it. We should Q&A session experience and thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Dudulina ji. Thank you, Desani.
Thank you, madam.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.